Tadaima, I am going to read what I wrote. This is the email I have not sent yet. I will post this as a video and then I will send this email. Link to Thursday, July 10th's video. Intentions. Today I will simply read this message into OBS and post on YouTube on an account no family knows about. I might respond to a couple of unrelated videos to exercise this habit. In Japan, I learned that habits, even reflexes, can be changed. For example, around 6 months in, I knew enough Japanese to get definitions in Japanese and started using itai instead of ouch. My grandfather said there are no exclamations that need uttered, probably something the self-discipline of World War II required of him. Even now, my partner can't just rely on my yes or no when a question is asked in the negative. For example, aren't you going to watch XYZ? Because in Japanese, hi, yes, would mean yes, I'm not going to watch XYZ. I taught my children sign language before they could talk. Except Anthony, he strongly preferred talking and had the vocabulary to avoid ASL. So when people would hold up 3 fingers, usually with the thumb and pinky down, my children, well, I forgot to write, to ask them how old they are. People would hold up 3 fingers. Are you 3 years old? My kids would say, no, that's 6. And I figured pointing at my nose instead of my breast when pointing to myself simply made more sense to me, but it was weird. Communication is a funny thing. I did not communicate with Officer Kevin Duggan successfully, and assigning the blame isn't really useful to me. My children should see me at my best, and these videos are not of me at my best, but they are from a mother who spent from 1993 until giving birth, July 23rd, 2001, doing my best to procreate, because having seen the world and learning that my milieu would use my higher education to flip bro, while my brother perpetuated apocalypse after apocalypse, fear-mongering to get people stirred up enough for an insurrection so he could have the war stories like our father and grandfather would be a better use of my efforts. So I did. Those who can do, those who can't teach, those who won't make an effort troll. I could, therefore I did. It is reasonable for me to be scared. That's not mental illness, that's MAGA. I have openly explained how Trump is a criminal before he was president the first time. If you don't think that scared me enough to change my habits and interrupt my reflexes, you have been living under a rock and you should stay there. Meanwhile, I am working on finding the solution, and electing MAGA again couldn't have happened except that people like me were silenced by family, friends, or government strangers. I had never before been in a car with someone who told me I should be killed, and that really did happen. Bob only told me to kill myself. The only time in my life I have had a knife pulled out on me as a threat was Bob's friend, but I was on crutches and they were longer than the knife. The only time in my life I've met a human bragging about killing their spouse for the life insurance and getting away with it was Bob's friend, who he had me meet alone under the pretense it was about software. And the only person I've ever seen eat a worm, not on television, was as a toddler when I pretended to eat a worm at Fort Bragg and tricked Bob into eating one for real. A story I only know about because my mother reminds me. I have complained that the Nazarene Church as a 501c3 shouldn't be endorsing MAGA nor genocide, and the tax codes changed just last week so they legally can do both. I am not the problem. The problem is all the people, all the agencies, all the money being spent to discredit me and people like me who care enough about our community to live modestly and give back 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 366 days a year. My mother had never had a vacation until I helped her certify her registered business. So now I'm going to read all this and post it here. After I'm done, then do something else today so that whatever I do tomorrow is thoughtful instead of a reflex. This is an email I sent yesterday, Wednesday, July 9th. Let's just figure out who people are here. Shelley Ashenbrenner she's still a defense attorney. Heard from her yesterday, so she's still alive, and she still says everything. She is the one that I trust and I listen to, and I try to avoid things that she says will land me in jail. The DA office in Washington County, Oregon, prosecuted me because of Bob, and I wasn't healthy enough to testify against my brother. The BHA, or the BH admin support behavior something admin support in Washington County is getting run by LifeWorks Northwest, Attorney General of Oregon, is the DOJ of Oregon, Governor Kotek, Governor of Oregon, Park Rose Permaculture. She's a local person that I find incredibly uplifting, and I don't listen to her all the time. I can't stay in that mindset all the time. But when I am looking for information, she usually has a short that I can find that tells me what's going on, at least locally. Info at the Popek firm. The reason I like these guys is because when I complained that Michael Popek was, he was on the Midas Touch video, and he was seriously going at Russians. And I told him that my kids are Russian Nazarene, and you can't you can't blame all the Russians for what Putin's doing, just like you can't blame me for what Trump is doing. It's no singular person. It's not like all of Americans voted for Trump. If you consider that 65% of Americans didn't vote, and it was a really close split between the other, 65 didn't vote. That means 35 people, half of 35%. Half of 35 is 15 plus a couple. So like 17% of people in the United States voted for Trump. 17%. That's not everybody. Anyways, the Popak firm, if I had money, I would hire them to advocate for me. But like I've said, I am currently looking at how to pay rent. That's my important thing. Investigations at NPR, they're getting hit hard by MAGA, and I'm trying to keep them in the loop because we have the same ambition. Oregon State Police, that's another Oregon State Police email. George White at Connections 365 was standing in for Debbie Lute, who participated in criminal acts. So I'm keeping him informed, and you can see she's down out here at the bottom. So these are the people, these CCs. Okay, so Dr. Scott Cook was my first forensic interview, and he wrote up that I needed to see a medical doctor, and if there was no medical reason for me to have these symptoms, then I was crazy. However, medical treatment got rid of my symptoms. There's no mental illness mental illness does not put you in the ICU. Now maybe you could do something to yourself while you're suffering from mental illness. It'll put you in the hospital, but I wasn't in the ICU for a mental illness. I was in the ICU because I couldn't breathe. All right. And Tambre, Temre. I'm not even really sure how to pronounce that, but she is the one who marched Rachel Parker here up to my apartment in Hillsborough to apologize because what the state did was criminal, and I don't have to sue the state. I don't have to sue Kaiser Permanente unless they continue to refuse to acknowledge reality. And I am not interested in making people feel bad. I'm not interested in exposing criminal conduct. I know my brothers did criminal conduct. That was really the fear. The fear in 2017 was that my brother Alex would go to jail for beating my son, and my mother told me that when that happened, he'd go there for the rest of his life because of the three strikes thing. I didn't even know that Bob was doing illegal things until after that. So Rachel Parker went against medical advice from OHSU under the guidance of Eric East over here. Here's his email. And treated me as a criminal because I reported violence. The word they used was unkind. It was unkind for me to report my brother for beating my son in a state-certified child care. Gregory Bratlin came to visit me while I was stepping down from the ICU, and he was told that he had to leave because I couldn't breathe. And he came to the ICU to tell me that I'm never going home again. And, he was right. But he had to violate the doctors at Salem Hospital at that time. They had to go against OHSU's doctors. They had to go against a lot of people in order to perpetuate that I was the problem because I reported violence instead of the person who was doing the violence. This email no longer works because she's probably no longer in that position. But this is for Arwen. I love that name. And we talked about how she was Gregory's fairy godmother. And when I got Arwen, when I reported the violence, OHSU sent her to help me. And I believe firmly the reason that the violence against Gregory stopped is because of Arwen being in my home. It is also worth noting that Eric East over here had 2 people fired who advocated for me because they had to support his position that I was the bad guy, and he fired the 2 people that knew me well enough and had been in my home enough to say that I wasn't the problem. I was experiencing a medical crisis. I was put on opiates and dealing with type 1 diabetes without help. And I think one of the many reasons that Kaiser Permanente, if it goes to court, I will be successful in suing them, is because they put me on opiates. They knew I was managing a type 1 diabetic's insulin who was dyslexic, and I had no support at home. My mother and other people were around a lot, but that's not the people doing the diabetes math. I remember the day that the last day I left my son with my mother was when she sent him out of her house when he had a blood glucose of 31, and she sent him home instead of making sure that he had something to immediately eat. Now, she was running a business, and at that day that was the last doctor's appointment I went to, because it was the last time I could leave my mother with my son, because she simply didn't understand diabetes enough to know that a 31 was simply inexcusable. And it's not that she ever had any malice. She just didn't understand what she was doing. Math is not her forepoint. She is amazing. I can't remember that nanny show. My mom is amazing at dealing with kids. She she makes everything a game. I love her to pieces for it. I've got goosebumps because I have so many good memories of her. She simply was terrible at managing diabetes. It's okay to be terrible at some things, but withholding access to help isn't acceptable, and that absolutely happened. And the state had to go against OHSU's leadership, who were in my living room advocating for me that being unkind isn't what you call somebody who is saying her son is getting beat. Police at City of Salem, they are the ones who called a 30-year-old beating a middle schooler mutual combat. So when my brother, who was no longer going to bars because he had his son, and instead of taking time to learn anything useful, he quit getting into bar brawls. He had a very friendly view of the police of Salem because he had lots of intimate interactions with the city of Salem as a regular at a bar where he would get into brawls. That was just his way of letting off steam. The problem is you can't beat somebody's kid and have the city of Salem called a 30-year-old beating a child mutual combat. There are no conditions where you can call a child on the receiving end of there are no words Gregory could have used to justify what my brother Alex did to him. But the Salem police called it mutual combat. Debbie Lute is the one who monetized my children. So she saw me going away as a way to profit off of, as a way to make money. And the reason I can't stop talking about Connection 365 is if she did that to me, I don't even know how many other people she's done it to. It wasn't like I had a criminal history. I ran a child care for 20 years. There was nothing even there. Okay, moving on. That's the link to the video I made yesterday, including the conversation I had with Officer Kevin Duggan? I can't remember. Okay, so this is what I'm reading this into a YouTube video. It's an email that already was sent. My mother doesn't know about this account, and there is no family linked here. If I need to pull it down, I will pull it down. But Shelley, your response doesn't make sense to me. Remember, I trust you. I've not trusted the police in Salem. Yeah. I read the, if you want to, the video link. Okay. I'm just going to move on. Dr. Cook interviewed me at the end of 2016-ish. At that point, I didn't have PTSD. I had a physical problem, and his report said that I should be given medical treatment, and only if there is no medical explanation should I be considered mentally ill. I let everyone read that report because I wanted my children to see the mistakes in it, but he did his best, and that he said I needed a doctor. Getting put on the streets of Portland is the opposite of medical care. Today, I still can't contact my neurologist. I sound like I have brain damage. Dr. Greg Zarelli at Kaiser, I credit with saving my life along with Dr. Baines. I don't remember Dr. Baines' first name. I have nothing bad to say about them. The problem is they removed him as my neurologist because I was keeping records by sending him messages. And, well, when I didn't use the word malpractice for Kaiser until everybody was telling me I can't get help with these acts because they're malpractice. So Better Business Bureau can't help me because it's malpractice. Other agencies can't help me because it's malpractice. And the only resolution to malpractice is a tort claim. The only way to do that is either file it pro se or hire somebody. And, well, Trump tanked the economy. Any money I would have had, I don't have. Um, I had, by the way, on Liberation Day, I registered Growing Gankiness as a 501c3 in Oregon. Um, we'll see what happens. I sound like I have brain damage. I'm not proud of sounding like this. This is who I am after 8.5 years of terror that didn't start until 2017, January 26th. I have no reason to think that Officer Kevin Duggan means me harm, but it does seem to me that asking the victims to prove the crimes is backwards. Jan, Parker, and East all apologized to me. Greg came to my hospital room while I was stepping down from the ICU and was told to leave me alone. Arwen at OHSU told Parker, Greg, and East that they were on the wrong side, and she mothered my children and helped me find shelter. Oh, when Tweedledum and Tweedledummer put me on the streets and helped Alex, a man who had the emotional regulation of a Tasmanian devil, learn how to deal with the minor child he abused and then got paid for. My children paid Alex's rent with their childhood. I am supposed to be angry. I remember being on the max because Jason Melaneth gave me, he always made sure I had a daily pass for Max. And Max doesn't run 24 hours. And I remember being on the last train and like, where do I get off? And asking her, okay, so now I have to go somewhere for the next few hours. Where do I go? And it was scary. That is not Alex is the most manly guy I know, and Alex would not have gone through what I did. He would have not spent time in the places that I had to go to, because the streets of Portland are I'll just say scary at night. Okay, I am supposed to be angry. I watch Ukrainian women stand their ground, and to this day I'm not sure I made the right choice to report violence, because the violence got worse after I reported it. But at least it was against me instead of my son. When I brought Erwin into the home from OHSU, Alex quit hurting Gregory, but I became the target, and I don't want to get emo right now. I'm just gonna leave it at that. Oh, look at that. Because by bringing Arwen into my home, Alex had to stop hurting Gregory. I do not need to defend why I reported life-threatening violence to the police. They need to defend why they called it mutual combat. I slept at 535 Northwest Gleason, PDX, under the halfway house for men released from jail. Put on the street every morning by 6:30, rain, sleet, snow, or shine. There was snow on the ground when I was homeless. And Alex, who slept in his car at the top of Mount Hood and got into bar brawls for emotional release, was too scared to go where I went every night for months. And when I finally came back to Salem to demonstrate my sober living at Samanka's place, the woman who said she would adopt my children worked across the street, and because I couldn't see, I didn't notice she was the cashier, and she didn't even know I lived in Salem. Yet I spent decades teaching children of strangers that their parents loved them, while she got paid to keep my children away from me. My children paid the rent for the house their abuser kept them in, while the man who beat them was given the support stolen from me. I have to stop here, but no arrhythmia. Getting rid of those extra nerves in my mouth, the nerves only exposed because I took Lupron and lost bone. With that pain gone, I can testify if I have to. But I don't need anyone to go to jail. I just need my good name back. The name Bob took away from me when he sat with Jessica and Alex on my back porch and planned how they would get rid of me. And they did. I have a brain injury. In the YouTube video, where did I give the officer the idea that I want to talk to Bob? I've already read the email below this. I'm keeping a public record in a place that I don't think anybody in my family knows about. This is I guess it is listed here, but this is my, it's on GitHub. So, I mean, if you're going to go to the effort to find it on GitHub, then I have a bazillion aliases, not because I was trying to do anything malicious, but because I had to start over and start over and start over and start over. And Google has one of those things where it asks you a week later, do you want to follow up? But I was reporting things that I couldn't emotionally deal with because they were so scary. I can't remember if we're allowed to swear, but this would be the place for it. And that's where we're at. I've got a future in front of me. I have this project that I'm working on, and putting together what I have done already so that I can see it, and trying to build something new. If you want to support me or help me, which I'm not expecting anybody I'm linking to this video to even want to do, Melaneth is on GitHub. He's an elite programmer. He knows things that your normal guy doesn't know. He reminds me a lot of my dad, but in the programming aspect of it anyways. And he made sure that I ate every day that I was homeless, and I told him there's no way that my mom would actually put me out because it was illegal. It was crazy to me that was even considered a possibility. But she did. And she didn't do that because she's a terrible mother. She did it because she loves her sons and thought that having me go elsewhere was less terrible than having both of her sons put in jail. Or at least one of them. I can't remember at what point that it really became obvious the day of the insurrection that Bob had been successful in what he had been putting together since 1992. And I certified Cindy's kids with my mother because he was storing guns and barrels for Y2K. So after Y2K, they had to come up with something else. I mean, he always had an apocalypse that he was scared of and arming people for. And I don't mind people being proactive and anticipating disastrous things. Japan has earthquakes. I mean, they've had whole islands appear and disappear, which is some of why I appreciate Oregon so much, because we don't have islands that just appear and disappear like they do over there. And anywhere that you find any high elevation, you'll find those little shrine stones indicating that this is how high the water came in whatever year it was. And I really liked the temples because they were places that people could go. If you don't know where to go, you go to the temple and you tell them your problem, and then they show you the right place. That's what churches were supposed to be. And as a Nazarene, we kind of joked in the 90s that we pay for other people to take care of people. But we're not succeeding at that. There needs to be some accountability. We can't pretend that we didn't create this problem. And I recognize that one of the reasons Trump got elected again is because I thought that other people would do enough spreading the news that I didn't have to make myself vulnerable. Because if you don't think that MAGA can be terrifying, you're simply not paying attention. Trump has declared the war on everybody except for Putin. he declared trade war against penguins. It would be laughable, except that it's tragic. That's enough said. Let's see, we're at another 30-minute video. I need to make these a bit shorter in the future. But this is where I am today. And I don't know what else to do other than say this is what I am today. I'm taking care of today's problems today. And tomorrow I have some things that I have things to do. I wanted to take a day on what I should do about Kaiser, and I'm not trying to complain about anybody. I just want somebody to communicate with me who can acknowledge reality and not expect me to have to lie about who I am. And I'm a Nazarene. I'm an Oregonian. If they deport me, they'd have to deport me to Chicago. If they want to go further back from that, they'd have to go to Mississippi. All of this makes sense if we take the time to just talk through it, but we can't make sense of it if we're not allowed to talk about it. Alright, so I'm going to end this with Itekimasu.